This is a special edition of Business Breakthroughs on navigating your company forward during the coronavirus crisis. We're talking about business leadership for uncertain times with your host, Larry Prince. We appreciate your patience as we record this podcast remotely. Today, we're going to talk about the effects of the corona crisis on your people, your finances, your business, and on you. And we'll be doing this in two parts.
Good morning, Barry. Thank you.
Larry, let's begin talking about the effects of change during a normal business cycle, if you will.
During normal times, Barry, when you're hit as a business owner with change that you have to manage, that change is going to tax employees, erode morale and teamwork, and it's going to have an effect on results. Then you add this health crisis on top of managing normal change, it's profound, the effects it can have on a business owner and business leader.
All right, so let's take a look at some of those critical questions that business owners face right now.
Barry, right on top of the list is, how do I keep the doors open? And right after that are things such as, how do I run the business and not lay off people? But if I have to, which ones do I lay off, furlough, or keep? How do I keep my people focused? And how do I find opportunity and move the business forward? And financially is, what's my cash position? What do I have on hand right now, and what is my financial risk?
It's a long list, Larry.
It is a long list, and it includes things such as, how do I manage my vendors, creditors, and pay my landlord? So you're right, the list is long, and Barry, it goes also to being sensitive to what the employees are going through. Employees are saying, well, I have my job. How am I going to pay bills and afford health care? And what's going to happen to the company in the future? These are all hovering over the ability to move the business forward.
So, Larry, with those critical points in mind, where do we begin?
Barry, that's a good question. Here's what I recommend. There's a lot to consider as a business owner and leader. Let's divide this up into categories. Let's look at your people, your business, your finances, and look at yourself as well. And what I recommend, Barry, is that we take a look at the financial component on the second podcast.
All right, good. So let's start with our people.
Barry, what we have to consider and be sensitive to is, how are our people responding to all this change, responding to the crisis? And in essence, it's like a continuum. On one end, it is with anger, a sense of loss. And as we move through that continuum, it's frustration. And what we have to accept is, at minimum, anxiety for everybody. So business owners need to be sensitive to that. And companies that are going to survive and eventually grow again are going to have business owners and leaders at the helm that have that sensitivity and know how to respond to their people.
Good. So how do you give your people hope, Larry?
Larry, that's a great question. Hope is a powerful emotion, one of our most powerful. And it's going to carry us through difficult times. So here's what I recommend. First, treat your people like adults. Do not give them false assurances. Give them honest hope. Second, know that your people can make a difference. So involve them in helping move the company forward. Don't put it on your shoulders alone. And last, Barry, give people a sense of why you're making the decisions you are. Give them the reason or the why for the decisions you make.
And solicit their input, I would assume.
You got it, Barry. That's very good. Very important.
All right. So, Larry, let's talk about your business. The marketplace, the customers, the operations.
Barry, I'm glad you brought this up, because the business is a very broad term, divided into those three categories. We can't just look at our people, and we'll get into finances in a few minutes or on the next podcast. We got to look and break the business apart. So if you're looking at the market, you got to evaluate what is happening in the market. How is your business fit into this new market, and what changes you have to make as an organization, what operational changes you have to make, what working processes, how you message your business, and how you go about selling your products and services. We have to evaluate that. Just like we have sensitivity to our people, we have to have an understanding and sensitivity about what's happening to our customers and their customers as well. What's happening to our supply chain? What's happening to our vendors? We're not in this alone. We're a part of a business continuum, a supply chain continuum. You have to sit back and evaluate each of those components and then look internally to say what adjustments operationally do we need to make.
Right. Well, that said, it starts with a dialogue, right?
Barry, it starts with a dialogue with you and your people, with other business leaders, with your customers, with your vendors. Hold those conversations. Put the elephant on the table and be honest about where you're at. And together you can figure things out and be reasonable.
All right. So it may be a time where agreements have to be reworked.
You know, it could be. You might have to rework contracts and agreements or have short-term agreements on how to work together. Also, this is an opportunity to seek new possibilities. And in another podcast, we're going to talk about how companies have made adjustments in their business. For example, moving from a retail to an online presence. Won't get into them deep right now, but those are type of things that you have to consider. What are the possibilities and what's doable business-wise?
So, Larry, people are making tough decisions and drastic decisions during this crisis. What about the long-term effects on their business, on their company?
Barry, it's a good question. So often when there's a lot going on in crisis mode, we make decisions that we think are the best decisions for today, and they very well could be. What we have to consider, Barry, is the pros and cons of these decisions, not just for today, but what happens 2, 3, 4 months from now when we are turning the economy back on? Are we prepared for that? And are today's decisions affecting our business at that time as well?
So, Larry, let's talk about the effect on the owner, the business leader themselves during this crisis.
You know, Barry, it's a good question. It's tough enough to run a business during normal times. Now you add the whole health crisis on top of it. It becomes pretty profound and even emotional for a business owner and leader. There's a few things that we have to take stock of when times are challenging for us. And it's not to ignore those emotions, to think about how it's affecting us personally and our relationships with our family and friends and the management team and our employees. You got to think that through. It's not just about the decisions around the business, the finances, and your people. It's about yourself as well. And I recommend get out of the office. Get out of the environment where all those tough decisions are. Go to where you relax and think best. It could be listening to music. You're still allowed to walk around the block. Go to a park if you're allowed. Just sit back and reflect. Don't overreact. You know, just hit the pause button and think about yourself. Put yourself in the best place for your own hope, not just for the hope of your people. So getting out of the office, reflecting and thinking through your emotions and how it's affecting your relationships and yourself really will help put yourself in a better place when you go back into the office.
So, Larry, this isn't something you should really do alone. You need to have somebody to talk to, don't you?
Yes, Barry, and that's why people call me up and they want to talk to a trusted advisor. You need to talk to somebody. You can't go at this alone. You know, it could be a spouse, a good friend, a mentor, another business owner, or a business consultant, trusted advisor like myself. But you need to talk to somebody. You need to get feedback from someone, test some of your assumptions, bounce your ideas off of. Absolutely. Don't go at it alone.
So there's a lot to think about here and a lot to decide.
There is, Barry. It's about our business. It's about ourselves, about our people. And we're going to talk in a few minutes about our finances as well.
You've been listening to a special edition of Business Breakthroughs with Larry Prince of Prince Leadership on how to navigate the coronavirus. For more, go to PrinceLeadership.com or call Larry directly at 973-670-6304. Once again, that's 973-670-6304, or email him at larry@princeleadership.com.